Hey everyone, Andrew here, bringing you another video. And today we're going to be doing my top 10 countdown to my favorite Superman stories of all time. Now, let me just say before we get into the countdown that one, this is a list of my personal favorite Superman stories, not a list of what I think are the best Superman stories of all time. I don't think you could make a list like that. It'd just be too much debate amongst fans. But the fact of the matter is that these are my own personal favorite Superman stories, not what I think are the best. So you don't actually have to agree with my list, because, well, that's the beauty of it. They're my favorites. No one has to agree with them. Second of all, is that some of these stories on this list actually originally recommended not to buy them. And I pretty much stand by that. The reason why is because just because I recommend you not to get something doesn't mean I don't like it or love it. I try to put all biasness and favoritism for a story aside and just tell you guys whether or not you'd be better off getting it. So if you see a story on here that I recommended not getting, don't be surprised, because I might still love it. So with that said, let's jump in with number 10 on the countdown being Superman Secret Origins. Now, Superman Secret Origins is a story that just slid right in there. If I did this a week or two earlier, or a month earlier, this wouldn't be on the list, because, well, it just came out in trade paperback. Great origin story for Superman. It really did a good job at consolidating Superman's information in his history when it comes down to doing an origin story from all the different other origin stories. Great art, great characterization. Overall, a good job for a Superman origin story. And pound for pound, probably the best Superman origin. However, the only problem is that it didn't really do anything shocking or anything to, really surprise me. Didn't do anything daring in that fashion. And the second thing is that I wish this would actually work with the Man of Steel series. There's a few aspects to this, like Metallo's origin or Lex Luthor's origin, that kind of work against the Man of Steel series. But, for the most part, great Superman origin. Really enjoy it. Really good story. It was good enough to make it on my top 10 list. Which brings me to another Superman origin, which would be the Man of Steel series. As good as the Secret Origin series is, Man of Steel, I just enjoy it a little bit more. Not so much on how well it tells Superman origin, just on how well it tells the stories themselves. There's a ton of stories in here. You can actually say that this isn't one overall Superman story, but rather a series of Superman stories. And that could be true, but this was a great collection of Superman writing. Very well done. From Don Bryan to Dan Jurgens and everything in between, it is just nicely done with Superman. And it is really, I said this before, my perfect Metropolis. When I think of Metropolis, I think of this Superman and this Metropolis. It really is a great collection of Superman stories. I wish all of it was still considered canon, but some of it is no longer considered canon. So, I mean, you take what you can get. But, yeah, I just love the Superman Man of Steel series. Very well done, and it makes it onto my list. As you will see throughout this list, I'm going to say great story or very well done a lot. Well, it's because I love the stories. So, coming in at number 8 would be Superman for Tomorrow, which is a 2-volume story. Superman for Tomorrow is a completely different story for Superman. And you'll find with a lot of the videos, or a lot of the picks that I have for this video, is that the stories will be completely different from your status quo Superman story. And in that, For Tomorrow is a great example of a completely different Superman story that I love. It's a story that deals with Superman personally, and with his faith, and with his morals, and how long he can hold in there while a big aspect of his life is missing. There's not overwhelmingly a lot of action there, although there is a good amount. This is very much a character analysis of Superman, and does a very good job of that. And it's a unique Superman story. It's not one of your ground and pounds. It's not one of your smash 'em up. It's a story that looks at Superman in a way that we never looked at Superman before. So, For Tomorrow, great, well done Superman story. Definitely makes it on my list at number 8. So, with that said, coming at number 7 would be Superman Eradication, the origin of Eradicator. Not only is this story well told and well written, and have a classic Superman-like feel, especially for the 90s, but Eradicator, or Eradication, the origin of Eradicator, brings in a huge aspect of Kryptonian mythos that becomes part of Superman mythos that I enjoy a lot, which would be the Eradicator. Now, Eradicator really showed up in Superman Exile, but he got introduced here, he got explained here. I shouldn't be calling him a he, because it's not really actually a person. What Eradicator is a Kryptonian artifact that needs to preserve all Kryptonian knowledge, no matter the cost. You could say it's similar to the animated series Brainiac, in that it will do anything to preserve this knowledge, to the point that it actually starts possessing Superman. Really good, told story, and it introduces an aspect of Superman that I really enjoyed for a very long time, and plays a crucial role in later Superman stories. You know, like the death of Superman and the return of Superman, stuff like that. Coming in at number 6 would be Superman Exile. Again, another Superman story that's completely different from all the other ones. Superman does a personal exile from Earth. He exiles himself from Earth. And in that, you really get to see Superman struggle, not just physically, but mentally, emotionally, personally. You really see him trying to figure out where he belongs in the universe, going to strange new worlds, seeking out new civilizations, boldly going where no Kryptonian has gone before. Okay, that was bad. But the fact of the matter is you really get to see Superman struggle on all different levels here. And you really see how much this guy loves Earth, and how much he loves the people on Earth, and how much he misses it. In addition to that, we get the introduction of Mongrel and Warworld. Just a great Superman story. It's a little bit long, a little bit dragged out, but it's a different Superman story, and it's unique, and it's something I really like. So Superman Exile, beautifully done. Now, with my next pick, you can kind of consider this part of a whole different other series, and I'll explain that in a second. But coming at number 5 would be Superman, New Krypton, which is a 4-volume series, which technically you can count Superman, The Last Stand of New Krypton as part of this, and also Superman, War for the Supermen. But I'm not going to. I'm only going to count this 4-volume series that does the New Krypton story. Now, I love the New Krypton story for a few reasons, and a lot of people don't necessarily like New Krypton. I like New Krypton, 1, because it fixed up the screwed up backstory that was Krypton. Krypton had so many different versions, it was just confusing as hell. And this consolidated all of them together and does a very good job of it. The second thing is that it puts Superman in a story and an atmosphere he's never been in before. A lot of people don't like the fact that this story takes away from Superman being the last son of Krypton. Well, I can see that argument. At the same time, this puts Superman in a story which he would never normally be in. A story where there's actually living, real Kryptonians that he gets to interact with and gets to become part of. And it's a story that's never been done with Superman, at least not in this grandiose scale. So it's a unique story, and I like that. You know the Kryptonians aren't going to stay around. Not trying to spoil anything for anyone, but they're going to disappear, they're going to travel to another dimension, go back in time, or get blown up, whatever the case is. You know they're not going to stick around, so just enjoy the story for what it's worth. I'm trying to rant on here, and I don't want to rant about this story, because this is just overall a great story. It really does a good job at making Superman struggle between being Superman, Clark Kent, and Kal-El, and it also fixes up Kryptonian history. It does a story that Superman's never been part of before. So the New Krypton series, really enjoyed it, really like it. Great comic book series. And it goes on to my list of my favorite Superman stories of all time. Coming in at number 4, Superman, The Wedding and Beyond. Now, The Wedding and Beyond is not so much a Superman story, but a story of Clark Kent and Lois Lane. And that's the great thing about this. This is about Clark Kent and Lois Lane. Superman actually really doesn't show up in it. I'm talking about Superman as a separate entity, but he is a separate identity. This is a love story, and I'm hopeless romantic. I'm a little sapped for love stories. I'll admit it. I know it's not really macho, but I like love stories, and this is a very nice love story between Clark and Lois. You see how these two struggle with each other and only come out stronger because of it, showing that they are probably one of, if not the best couple in comic books, period. They really do love each other, and this really shows it. There's not much more to say because this is a wedding story, but it's a really great Superman story. And like I said, it's different from all other Superman stories out there because it deals with Superman at a different level. So, The Wedding and Beyond, love it. Really good story. Next would be Superman, Panic in the Sky. Now, Superman Panic in the Sky is like a lot of Superman stories. A big threat comes to destroy the world and Superman needs to stop it. But this time, Superman gathers a task force which consists of Wonder Woman, Batman, Nightwing, Deathstroke the Terminator, Aquaman, Booster Gold, Flash, a lot of random people. I mean, Deathstroke the Terminator? Really? So there's a lot of random people in here, and it's just a great story of a coming evil that is going to destroy the world and Superman taking on the evil. It was very hyped up at its time, although I didn't read this when it was first came out, but it was very hyped up, and before reading this I was very hyped up to read it. I was a little bit disappointed at first, but then I reread this, and this is a classic Superman story, very nicely done, really enjoyable. This is a great Superman story, and it does make it on my list. As you've been seeing on my list, a lot of Superman stories are different from normal Superman stories. This one, however, isn't. This is Superman versus a big threat and going up against it. Very nicely done. Panic in the Sky, love it. Coming in at number 2, and I'm kind of cheating here, but this is going to be a series. The Superman Doomsday series, which consists of the death of Superman, A World Without Superman, and the return of Superman. What can I say? The death of Superman was a momentous Superman story. When it comes down to it, I do think Nightfall was the better of the two downfall stories between Superman and Batman. But this is just overall a nicely written story. It's very simplistic in its form. Superman versus an incredibly badass evil known as Doomsday. He loses, he dies. Plain flat and simple. Nothing more to it. It does a good job at that. Then we go at the emotional ramifications of it with A World Without Superman, and then the return, which at first started off slow, but the second half was beautiful. And on the whole, the Doomsday series is a very nicely done series, very enjoyable, and like I said, very basic, very elemental, but it gets the job done. And last but not least, coming at number 1, and this probably will shock people or surprise people, or maybe not, but Superman Brainiac. Yes, Superman Brainiac is my favorite Superman story of all time. There's a lot of reasons for this. One, let's get into it. The writing was very nicely done. Jeff Johns really went above and beyond, not just for the characters, but also the atmosphere, the events that happened. He retold Brainiac, and he retold Brainiac in a way that made Brainiac, well, believable and plausible with all the different versions out there. He told the story with Superman's father, which was very touching and very emotional, and he really gave a menacing atmosphere, a very unstoppable, evil-like feeling to Brainiac. There's a lot of parts in this that you feel as though Brainiac will win no matter what. The art is very nicely done, and it's a nice, quick little story. It's not overly drawn out, but it's not too short. It's just the right amount of issues in there. Really great Superman story, and my personal favorite Superman story of all time. Now, that was my countdown. Let's just go through these one more time. Oh, there's a lot here. But coming in, and we're going to go down, coming at number 1 was Superman Brainiac. Love it. Coming at number 2 was the Superman Doomsday series, which is the death of Superman, the world without Superman, and the return of Superman. Then, coming at number 3 was Superman Panic in the Sky. After that was The Wedding and Beyond. Coming at number 5 was the new Krypton series. Then we move on to number 6, Grand Exile. Number 7, Eradication. Number 8, For Tomorrow. Number 9, the Man of Steel series. And number 10, Superman's Secret Origin. So those are my favorite Superman stories of all time. Now, these are always subject to change. Something else could be my favorite Superman story. Something could knock another Superman story off. This is not finite, set in stone. No. This is constantly always changing. So I hope you guys enjoyed this little countdown. I'm going to end this video here. This is Andrew saying peace out for now.